$23,600 per home, and in a low-pressure system, it would be approximately $12,300 per home. And private or on-site service costs, so the installation to your home, would vary depending on the lot size and lot configuration for both alternatives. So, back to the beginning, the lot fees would be between $10,000 and $45,000, depending on available grant money. User rates, they'd also be user rates covering the cost of both the sewage treatment facility and the collection system. Next is the cost of installing lines from the curb to home, and that varies depending on location, and the cost of decommissioning existing septic systems, which will vary depending on location as well. So question number 13 is, what are the costs to the homeowners of potential alternatives as provided by Task Team 3? You could go to the next. This research hasn't been completed entirely yet, so I don't have fully fleshed out yet, but we do have an EcoFlow at $15,000, a BioNest at 5.5 plus the connection costs, and each of them have maintenance contract costs, and we'll be identifying some pros and cons for each of the wastewater treatment alternatives. Question number 14 is, what are the current wastewater fees and what are the projected wastewater fees? At the November 7, 2011 Council meeting, Lambton Shores Council reviewed and subsequently approved the recommendation in Treasury Report number 49/2011 to adopt the 2012 wastewater rates as projected in the Watson and Associates rate review study adopted in January 2010. This approval implemented the following charges. Wastewater base rate for a 3/4 inch of $11.49 in 2011 and $11.72 in 2012. So we have a base rate of $11.49 currently, and in 2012 it will be increased slightly to $11.72. The wastewater cubic meter rate of $1.65, so each cubic meter will be $1.65 in both 2011 and 2012. The current rates anticipate the completion of the Grand Bend sewage treatment facility in 2010 and the inclusion of Zone 3 and Zone 4 as users beginning in 2011. The total anticipated cost of the North End collection system in the Watson rate review study, so both Zone 3 and Zone 4, in these calculations is estimated to be $25,964. So the last question is, how do Lambton Shores user fees compare with other jurisdictions? According to the BMA Management Consulting Municipal Study 2010, which considered financial data of 83 of the possible 444 Ontario municipalities, Lambton Shores ranks second highest in residential wastewater and water costs at $1,195 for 250 cubic meters. Lambton Shores is also the third highest in burden ranking of water wastewater costs as a percentage of household income at 1.8% of household income. The BMA report considered this to be a high burden rate. So that is the completion of what we have been able to find with numbers so far, and we're certainly open to being challenged on these numbers before we present them to the public, but there's some pretty serious numbers here, and I'm open to your questions or comments now as well. Yes, Lynn?
Where'd you come up with the number on per ratepayer burden?
From the BMA.
What's BMA, I'm sorry?
It's an annual review, a comparison of all municipalities in Ontario on a whole variety of issues, everything from debts to...
All right, so what did you use for a number? Did you just divide population?
No, that's the number they gave me. I just quoted exact numbers from BMA.
And do you know where they got it?
They took all the data provided by the municipality. We submitted information to them, they did the analysis, and then they came back with about a 2-inch thick report on what they reviewed, what they considered, what they discovered.
Earlier in the presentation, when my eyes could still focus, there was a statement or a visual, I can't remember which, it's so long ago, that our population was 12,000 and our debts were whatever they were. When you consider our debts, do you consider them per population debts?
No, obviously, they're all recovered in different ways. User fees only apply to 2,700 users right now. Parking obviously applies only to tourists or people that are using municipal parking lots. And so not everything is, but on that chart, on the right-hand side, is identified whether it's recovered through taxation, user fees, or whatever.
Well, when you're discussing taxation though, when you're referring to how much debt's recoverable, you
Yes.
specifically mentioned the 12,000 residents. I'm wondering if you misspoke or if that's how you understand municipal taxation.
Well, you have to understand that it's actually even worse when you apply to only the users. You know, if there's a wastewater
I was
fee that's
speaking
applied
the
to.
debt burden overall, as I believe you were, Elizabeth. Because the last information I got from the treasurer, and I hate to rant like this, but
Uh-huh.
a third of the taxes from this municipality come from people who don't live here. So that's $2.5 million of the 8.3 come from non-residents. People that have second,
People that own homes here but do not live here permanently.
they're not voters.
But we only
No,
have
they're
2,000.
still voters.
Yeah,
They're
they're all
residents.
voters.
They're not municipal, you can
So I
only
guess
vote once.
my bottom line is that somehow or another, $21 million is recovered from our 12,000 residents. Some will take a heavier burden, some will take a lighter burden, but it's all within the 12,000 that are ratepayers and voters. So they may not be permanent residents here, but they're all going to be paying towards the taxes to recover these $21 million, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, Lori.
Elizabeth, just to clarify voting, voting in a municipal election is allowed per property that you own. So if you live in Kitchener, you can vote there. If you have property here in Lambton Shores, you may vote here.
How
You
many
may not
properties
vote
do
if
you
you
own
have
here?
two properties, so you can only vote
You get
one
vote.
vote per municipality.
Damn.
Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, Adrian, you go ahead first.
I heard, I don't know if it's true or if it's a rumor about the Sulphur and only
Blue Water.
Blue Water, they want a single train.
They say that that's probably going to be second.
Yes, and we want a double train. So how is that going to affect the cost, et cetera?
I think that's going to be discussed more tomorrow morning at the Tri-Municipal Board. That will obviously have a significant effect. We're assuming in these calculations that we're going forward with a dual train and that Blue Water and South Huron are going to contribute to those costs, but we have yet to see exactly that. They have until the end of December to make a final decision, so we won't know until then what the financial implications are.
Now, another thing, from what I understand is that your sewage rate is comparable to your water rate. Not the rate maybe, but your usage. For every
The rate is different.
cubic
But
meter
it's
of
just
water that
doubled.
you use, you're going to pay for a cubic meter of sewage.
That is my understanding as well, and even if you
Okay.
just put on your garden or your yard,
But
it doesn't go back into
That's right.
the system,
So-
it's still charged. Yes.
the other point, what I'm thinking of is like, okay, there are a lot of people in Lambton Shores who are retired. There's 2 people to a home in a lot of them, or 1. And compared to families, now, do we have a number of how much water is used per residence that we could figure this up a little closer? Because even with the Pine Reef, I forget what the figure was you had there, but if you figured out what they actually did use, it only works out to 40 cubic meters per day for the year, but then you gotta remember, for the 2 months, they use an awful lot more, so like there's a big discrepancy in that whole thing that I can see.
Well, what we've done, we've relied on a figure provided to us that is very conservative. It's at 0.7 cubic meters per day per household. So it's all relying on a 0.7 cubic meters per day per household number. And it would probably exceed that in the summertime, be lower than that in the wintertime, but probably average itself out to 0.7. And that's provided to us by engineering sources.
No, and I'm just trying to figure out my use of water
Yes.
per month that I get charged for. Does not nearly come up to 7 cubic meters per day.
0.7, not even a cubic.
0.7.
Yes.